Good morning everyone. Basa na tayo ng Bible guys. 1 Chronicles chapter 7, 8, 9 and tama na. And John chapter 6 verse 22 to 44. Yung karugtong kahapon. Dito muna tayo sa John. Chapter 6 verse 22 up to 44. Basa. Jesus is the true bread from heaven. The next day, the crowd that had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake realized that only one boat had been there, and that Jesus had not entered it with his disciples, but that they had gone away alone. Then some boats from Tiberias landed near the place where the people had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and went to Capernaum in search of Jesus. Ba't ganun guys? Dapat pagka para maraming magampanan si Jesus, wag na kayong sumunod, tapos na kayo eh. Sumunod pa sila sa Capernaum. Diba? Kaya dumadami yung crowd lalo. Kasi nga, tapos na sila doon sa kabilang lake. Tapos susundan pa nila sa Capernaum si Jesus. Pampadami lang ng tao yun. Dapat yung iba, para share ba? Dapat, kung tapos ka na, huwag ka na pumunta doon. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you get here? Jesus answered, I tell you the truth, you are looking for me, not because you saw miracles or signs, but because you ate the loaves and had you filled. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. On him God the Father has placed his seal of approval. Then they asked him, What must we do to do the works God requires? Tinanong nila guys. What must we do to do the works God requires? Jesus answered, The work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent. So they asked him, What miraculous sign then will you give that we may see? We may see it and believe you. What will you do? Our forefathers ate the manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Jesus said to them, I tell you the truth. It is not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. Yeah, true. Si Moses, di ba, servant of God nga siya. So, syempre galing kay Father God yung manna. Maliwanag naman yun eh. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Nakalagay guys sa verse 33. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Verse 34. Ito yung sinasabi ko, paano nasasulat to ng writer? Yung sagutan talaga ba? Yung parang sa pelikula na merong pag-uusap. Yung, halimbawa, katulad ngayon, si Jesus, tsaka yung isang tao doon sa nakakain ng bread nung nagpakain si Jesus. Yung sagutan nila, nare-record pa yun. Parang ganun. Kaya minsan nagtataka ako, paano kayo ito nasusulat ng ganito? Yung talagang sagutan, yung detalyado talaga. Tapos, verse 34 tayo. Sir, they said, Ulit sa 33. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Sa verse 34, Sir, they said, from now on, give us this bread. Then Jesus declared, yan, sira na naman yung relo ko. Tumataba na yata ako. 34, Sir, they said, from now on, give us this bread. Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never go hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty. So verse 36. But as you told, ay, kaya na magbasa guys. Bulol na. So verse 36. But as I told you, you have seen me, and still you do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me I will never drive away. For I have come down from heaven not to do my will, but to do the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I shall lose none of all that he has given me, but raise them up at the last day. So ito yung panahon ni Jesus. Siya yung sinugo ng Ama. Paano sa generation natin ngayon? Sino ang mag-claim na sinugo ng Ama? Diba? Kasi wala na si Jesus eh. So sa panahon natin ngayon, may mag-claim din kaya na sinugo siya ng Ama? For my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. The people disagree that Jesus is from heaven. Ayun na. May mga nag-disagree. Kasi ano naman kasi yung tao eh. Baka sa may kanya-kanya kasing pag-iisip, diba? So verse 41 tayo. At this, the Jews began to grumble about him because he said, I am the bread that came down from heaven. They said, Is this not Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How can he now say, I came down from heaven? Stop grumbling among yourselves, Jesus answered. Narinig ni Jesus yung bulungan nila. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. So hanggang dyan lang yung 44. Bukas na ulit yung karugtong. Dito na tayo sa 1 Chronicles chapter 7, 8, 9. Ito yung madugo lagi. 3 chapter parati. Lagyan natin ng tanda para yan. Para mamaya kukuha tayo ng description. 1 Chronicles chapter 7, 8, 9. Tama ba sa schedule natin to? 7, 8, 9. Tatlong chapters talaga. Father God, ang haba pa man din. Issachar. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Pua, Jashub, and Shimron, 4 in all. The sons of Tola, Uzi, Ripaya, Jeriel, Jamai, Ibsam, and Samuel, heads of their families. During the reign of David, the descendants of Tola listed as fighting men in their genealogy numbered 22,600. Karami na. The son of Uzi is Israel. The sons of Israel, Michael, Obadiah, Joel, Isha, All 5 of them were chiefs, according to their family genealogy. They had 36,000 men ready for battle, for they had many wives and children. Sabi ko sa inyo guys normal na sa kanila yung many wives noong araw Tapos talagang pinaglalaanan nila yung yung para sa giyera. Men ready for battle. Sa verse 5, the relatives who were fighting men belonging to all the clans of Issachar is listed in their genealogy were 87,000 in all. 22, 36, yes. Ayoko, mahina ako sa math. Benjamin, three sons of Benjamin, Bela, Baker, and Jediael. The sons of Bela is born Uzi, Oshiel. Mahilig sila sa Uzi. Dito rin sa verse 3, may pangalan ding Uzi. Tapos dito naman sa verse 7, meron din. The sons of Bela is born Uzi, Oshiel, Jeremoth, and Iri, heads of families 5 in all. Their genealogical record listed 22,034 fighting men. The sons of Becher, yung mga apo na to ni Israel kasi, mga apo ni Israel, tapos apo na sa tuhod. The son of Jediael, Belhan, the sons of Belhan, Jeush, Benjamin, Ehud, Kenan. Oy, may kumuha sa sa lolo nilang pangalan. Jeush, Benjamin, Ehud, Kenana, Kananah, Zitan, Tarshish, and Ahishahar. All the sons of Jediael were heads of families. There were 17,200 fighting men ready to go out to war. Sige, nagpakarami sila para lang pumunta sa giyera. The Shephites and Huppites were the descendants of Er, and the Hushites the descendants of Aher. Naphtali. Ilan na ang anak ni Jacob dito? Si Judah, si Simeon, si Reuben, si Gad, Levi, Issachar, Benjamin, Naphtali. Ilan pa lang? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Diba 13 to? Naphtali, the sons of Naphtali, Jashal, Janay. I know, yung lalaki lang pala is 12. So, dapat 12 ito. Bakit kaya hindi nila sinasali yung babae, no? Yung Dina. Yung anak na Israel, yung mga anak na Israel. Puro lang talaga lalaki ang sinasali nila sa Bible. Naphtali, the sons of Naphtali, Jashal, Goni, Jezer. Nangalay na kasi ako. The sons of Naphtali, Jashal, Goni, Jezer, and Shalem. The descendants of Belha, Manasseh. The descendants of Manasseh. Alam ko si Manasseh, anak to ni Joseph So, apo na siya ni Israel. Tsaka itong si Ephraim. Manasseh, the descendants of Manasseh. Kasi yung tribes ba, di ba ang binigyan lang ng tribes is ano lang, hindi kasali si Dina at si Levi. The descendants of Manasseh, Ashriel was his descendants through his Aramean. Ulit-ulit kayo sa verse 14. The descendants of Manasseh, Ashriel was his descendant through his Aramean concubine. She gave birth to Machir, the father of Gilead. Machir took a wife from among the Huppites and Shuppites. His sister name was Maacah. Another descendant was named Zelophehad, who had only daughters. Machir's wife, Maacah, gave birth to a son and named him Perish. His brother was named Sheresh, and his sons were Olam and Rechem. The son of Ulam, Bidan. These were the sons of Gilead, son of Machir, the son of Manasseh. His sister Hameliketh gave birth to Ishhod, Abiezer, and Mala. The sons of Shemidah were Ahian, Shechem, Lekeh, and Enyam. Ephraim. The descendants of Ephraim, Shetelah, Bered his son, Tahat his son, Elidah his son, Tahat his son, Zabad his son, and Shetelah his son. Ezer and Eled were killed by the native-born men of Gath when they went down to Shezer, their livestock. Their father Ephraim, aray ko, pumayat na tayo. Inom muna tayo na sa verse 20 tayo na stuck ha. Verse 22. Their father Ephraim mourned for them many days, and his relatives came to comfort him. Then he lay with his wife again, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. He named him Beriah because, alam mo guys, nung araw, kahit matatanda na sila, nagkakaanak pa sila. Remember si Sarah? Sarah is 90 years old before nagkaanak kay Isaac. Diba? So, kahit matatanda na, tayo ngayon, 45 lang or 50, wala na, hindi na pwede magkaanak. Diba? O, basta maaga kasing ma-menopause ngayon eh. Pag na-menopause ka na, wala ka na anak, pero nung araw, 90 years old, may magkakaanak pa yung babae. Their father Abraham mourned for them many days, and his relatives came to comfort him. Si Ezer, kaninong anak siya? Si Elidah. Amen, oh God. Sorry. Binabalikan ko kasi guys, kasi minsan di ko maintindihan. Ulitin na lang natin. Verse 22. Their father Ephraim mourned for them many days, and his relatives came to comfort him. Verse 23. Then he lay with his wife again, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. He named him Beriah, because there had been misfortune in his family. His daughter was Shira, who built lower and upper Beth Horon, as well as Uzin Shira. Riva was his son, Reshep his son, Tala his son, Tahan his son, Ladan his son, Sa verse 25, guys. Ayan na naman yung, basta yung mga pangalan kasi yan, hindi na natin matatandaan yun. So, ulitin. Ripa was his son, Reshep his son, Tela his son, Tahan his son, Ladan his son, Amihud his son, Elishama his son, Nan his son. Itong Nan, ito ba yung, tatay ni Joshua? Remember niyo si Joshua, yung kasama ni Moses? Ito nga, Joshua nga. Nan his son and Joshua his son. Tama. Yung tatay ni Joshua ay si Nan. Akala ko nga dati Madre yan kasi N-U-N. Yung pala, pangalan ng lalaki. Nan. N-U-N. Nun his son and Joshua his son. Their lands and settlements included Bethel and its surrounding villages, Naaran to the east, Jisr and its villages to the west, and Shechem and its villages all the way to Aya and its villages. Along the borders of Manasseh were Bethshan, Tanak, Megiddo, and Dor, together with their villages. The descendants of Joseph, son of Israel, lived in these towns. Descendants pala ni Joseph ang sinali. Hindi siya. Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, yung Ephraim tsaka Manasseh anak ni Joseph yan. The descendants of Joseph, instead na Joseph ang nilagay nila dito sa mga tribes, pangalan ng anak ni Joseph, si Manasseh tsaka si Ephraim. Hindi katulad sa mga kapatid niya, talagang binigyan ng pangalan, katulad kay Benjamin, yung bunso nilang kapatid. So, dito na tayo sa, ulitin natin guys. The descendants of Joseph of Israel live in these towns. Asher, the sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishba, Ishbai, and Beriah. Their sister was Sarah. The sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malkiel, who was the father of Berseth. Basta kayo na magbasa, guys. Nahirap ako sa mga pangalan talaga nila eh. Heber was the father of Japlet, Shomer, and Hotham, and of their sister Shua. The sons of Japlet, Pasach, Bimhal, and Ashbath. These were Japlet's sons. The sons of Shomer, Aher, Roga, Hoba, and Aram. The sons of his brother Helem, Zupa, Imna, Shelish, and Emel. The son of Zupa. Sorry guys. So, Harneber, Shual, Beri, Imra, Bezer, Hod, Shama, Shilsha, Etran, and Bera. The sons of Jether, Jephone, Pispa, and Era. The sons of Judah, Era, Heniel, and Rizia. Akala niyo, pero mga pangalan yan, puro panlalaki yan. Pero tingnan mo naman, Era. Akala mo babae. All these were descendants of Asher, his family's choice men, brave warriors, and outstanding leaders. The number of men ready for battle is listed in their genealogy was 26,000. The genealogy of Saul, the Benjamite. So si Saul pala is anak siya ni Benjamin. Benjamin was the father of Bela, his firstborn, Asbel the second, and Ahara the third, Noha the fourth, and Rapha the fifth. The sons of Bela were Edar, Pabalik-balik yata. Yung sa kay Benjamin, basahin niyo yung verse 8 ng chapter 7, tapos yung chapter 8 ng magkapareho. Benjamin, guys. Yung chapter 7, verse 6 to 12, and then dito naman sa chapter 8 ng 1 Chronicles, verse 1, binalik lang din. The genealogy of Saul the Benjamite. Benjamite was the father of Bela, his firstborn. So yun, tatlo kasi anak ni Benjamin, si Bela, si Baker, at saka si Jejael. Sa verse 6 dun sa chapter 7. So dito tayo sa chapter 8. Benjamin was the father of Bela's firstborn, Ashbel the second son. No. Ahara the third. Bakit dito tatlo lang? Si Bela lang, Baker, tsaka si Jael. Dito marami. Benjamin was the father of Bela, his firstborn, Ashbel the second son, Ahara the third, Noha the fourth, and Rapha the fifth. The sons of Bela were Ada, Gera, Abihud, Abisha. Pero dito marami, guys, oh. Si Bela, si Ashbel, si Ahara, Noha, tsaka si Rapha. 2, 3, 4, 5. Or doon tatlo lang. The sons of Bela were Edar, Gera, Abihud, Abishua, Naaman, Ahoa, Gera, Shephupan, and Haram. These were the descendants of Ehud. These were the descendants of Ehud who were heads of families of those living in Geba and were deported to Manahath. Naaman, Ahijah, and Gera, who deported them, and who was the father of Uzzah and Ahihud. Sons were born to Shaharem in Moab after he had divorced his wives. Oh guys, also na yung divorce nung araw. Pero ngayon, hindi ma-approve sa atin, sa bansa natin. Sa bansa namin, walang divorce eh. Annulment meron. Sons were born to Shaharem in Moab after he had divorced his wives, Hoshim and Bara. But his wife Hodesh, he had Jubab, Zibiah, Misha, Malkam, Ziyuz, Zachariah, and Miss Merma. These were his sons, heads of families by Hoshim. He had Abitub and Elpaal. The sons of Elpaal, Eber, Mishham, Shemed, Hobalt, Ono, and Lod with its surrounding villages, and Berea and Shema, who were heads of families of those living in Aijalon, and who drove out the inhabitants of Gath. Ahio, Shashak, Jeremoth, Zebadiah, Erad, Eder, Michael, Ishpa, and Joha were the sons of Berea. Zebadiah, Meshullam, Hizki, Heber, Ismerai, Isliel, and Jubab were the sons of Elpaal. Joachim, Zikri, Zabdi, Elianai, Zilitai, Eliel, Adaiah, Beriah, and Shemrath were the sons of Shimei. Ishpan, Eber, Eliel, Abdon, Zikri, Hanan, Hananiah, Elam, and Todiah. Ayoko na. Ay. Nala, yung tiyan ko tuloy ang nag-react. Basahin natin ulit yung 19, guys. Chapter 1, Chronicles, chapter 8, verse 19. Jechem, Zikri, Zabdi, Elinai, Zulitai, Eliel, Adaya, Beriah, and Shamrat were the sons of Shimei. Ishpan, Eber, Eliel, Abdon, Zikri, Hanan, Hananiah, Elam, and Totijah, Ibdiah, and Penuel were the sons of Shashak. Shamsharai, Shehariah, Ataliah, Jaarisha, Elijah. Oy, si Elijah, anak siya ni descendant siya ni doon sa siya ni El Paal eh. Ito ba yung prophet? Si Elijah, yung umakyat sa umakyat sa heaven through whirlwind. Di ba tinangay siya? And Zikri were the sons of Jeroham. All these were heads of families, chiefs as listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem. Jael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. No. Jael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife name was Makkah, and his firstborn son was Abdon, followed by Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gidar, Ahio, Zikr, and Miklos, who was the father of Shimei, Shema, like that. Shimeah. The two lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, the father of Saul. Yan, andito na sila. Yung mga famous guys, nakikita na natin. Saul, tsaka si Elijah. Yan. Yung mga famous lang natatandaan. And Saul, the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Ishbaal. The son of Jonathan, Mary Baal. Pinagpapawisan ako dito. Ayaw ko kasing buksan yung fan. Maingay. Kish, the father of Saul, and Saul, the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Ishbaal. The son of Jonathan, Meribaal, who was the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Piton, Melech, Terah, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jehodah. Jehodah was the father of Alemeth, Ashmabeth, and Zimri. And Zimri was the father of Musa. Yan pa naman guys, tatandaan ko yun sa dami-dami ng mga pangalan. Musa was the father of Bani. Rapha was his son, Elisa his son, and Ezel his son. Azel na lang para mabilis. Azel had 6 sons, and these were their names: Azrikam, Bokero, Ishmael, Zeriah, Obadiah, and Hanan. All these were the sons of Azel. The sons of his brother Ishik, Olam, Elam, his firstborn, Jeus, the second son, and Elipelet, the third. The sons of Elam were brave warriors who could handle the bow. They had many sons and grandsons, 150 in all. All these were the descendants of Benjamin. Chapter 9 na tayo ng 1 Chronicles. All Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. Returnees from exile in Babylon, the people in Jerusalem. The people of Judah were taken captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness. Now the first to settle on their own property in their own towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and temple servants. Those from Judah, from Benjamin, and from Ephraim and Manasseh, who lived in Jerusalem were Yothai, son of Amihud, the son of Omri, the son of Imri, the son of Ani, a descendant of Peri, son of Judah. Of the Shilonites, Azariah, the firstborn, and his sons of the Zerahites. Jeuel, the people from Judah, numbered 690. Of the Benjamites, Salu, son of Meshulam, the son of Hodaviah, the son of Hasinoah, Ibneiah, son of Jeroham, Elah, son of Uzi, the son of Mikri, and Meshulam, son of Shephatiah, the son of Reuel, the son of Ibnijah. The people from Benjamin is listed in their genealogy numbered 956. All these men were heads of their families. Sa verse 8, ay verse 10. Verse 10 na tayo. The prayer of the priest Jedaiah, Jehoiarib, Jachin, Azariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshulam, the son of Zadok. Anong oras na ba? Kasi yun dyan kung umano na, kumukulog-kulog na. Tanda natin verse 11 muna tayo. Inom muna tayo tubig. Paubos na, hindi pa ako tapos. Verse 11. Azariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshulam, the son of Zadok, the son of Meraiot, Meraiot, the son of Ahitub, the official in charge of the house of God. Adaiah, son of Jeroham, the son of Pashhur, the son of Malchijah, and Maasai, son of Adjel, the son of Jezerah, the son of Meshulam, the son of Meshulemeth. Aray ko. Sabi sa inyo, pinagpapawisan na ako dito. Di ba? The son of Meshulemeth, the son of Immer. The priests who were heads of families numbered 1,760. They were able men responsible for ministering in the house of God. Of the Levites, Shemaiah, son of Hashub, son of Hashub, the son of Azrikam. Oh, Father God. The son of Hashabiah, Merarite, Bakbakar, Harish, Galal, and Mataniah, son of Micah, the son of Zikri, the son of Asaph, Obadiah, son of Shemaiah, the son of Galal, the son of Jeduthun, and Berechiah, son of Asa, the son of Elkanah, who lived in the villages of the Netophathites. The gatekeepers, Shalom, Akub, Talmon, Ahiman, and their brother Shalom, their chief, being stationed at the king's gate on the east at the present time, up to the present time. Up to the present time? Ibig sabihin, buhay pa sila ngayon? Really? Si Shalom guys, si Jacob, si Talmon, yung mga gatekeepers ha. Tanong ko lang kung buhay pa sila up to now kasi nakalagay up to the present time daw eh. Shalom, Jacob, Talmon, Ahiman, and their brother Shalom, their chief, being stationed at the king's gate on the east up to the present time. So, paano nyo intindihin yan guys? Ibig sabihin sa generation natin ngayon, buhay pa si Shalom. Naka-station siya sa east gate ng sa King's Gate on the east. These were the gatekeepers belonging to the camp of the Levites: Shalom, son of Kore, the son of Ebiasaph, the son of Korah, and his fellow gatekeepers from his family, the Korahites. Ay, tanong lang yung sa akin ha. Kasi nakalagay dito, nakasulat eh, up to the present time daw eh. So, tinanong ko kung buhay pa ba yung mga yan. Shalom, son of Kore, the son of Ebiasaph, the son of Korah, and his fellow gatekeepers from his family, the Korahites, were responsible for guarding the thresholds of the tent, just as their fathers had been responsible for guarding the entrance to the dwelling of the Lord. In the earlier times, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, was in charge of the gatekeepers, and the Lord was with him. Zechariah, son of Meshilemiah, was the gatekeeper at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Altogether, those chosen to be gatekeepers at the thresholds number 212. Ang dami. So, ibig sabihin, ganun kalaki yung binabantayan nila. Hindi ka naman magmamanpower ng 212 kung hindi ganun kalaki yung babantayan mo. Kumbaga sa King's Gate. Gate pa lang yan. How much more gaano kalaki yung palasyo na yan. In earlier times, Phinehas, sa 22 tayo, diba? Altogether, those chosen to be gatekeepers at the thresholds numbered 212. They were registered by genealogy in their villages. The gatekeepers had been assigned to their positions of trust by David and Samuel the seer. They and their descendants were in charge of guarding the gates of the house of the Lord, the house called the tent. Tent ang tawag nila sa house of the Lord. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. So, ang binabantayan pala ng mga to, yung tent, yung house of the Lord. So, napakalaki. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. Their brothers in their villages had to come from time to time and share their duties for 7-day periods. But the four principal gatekeepers, who were Levites, were entrusted with the responsibility for the rooms and treasuries in the house of God. They would spend the night stationed around the house of God because they had to guard it, and they had charge of the key for opening it in each morning. So, mayroon talagang gwardiya, guys. Mga Levites. Yung pinaka-tent, yung house of God. Inanuhan ng mga Levites. Sila yung entrusted with the responsibility. Sa verse 28, some of them were in charge of the articles used in the temple service. They counted them when they were brought in and when they were taken out. Others were assigned Others were assigned to take care of the furnishings and all the other articles of the sanctuary, as well as the flour and wine and the oil, incense, and spices. But some of the priests took care of mixing the spices. A Levite named Mati, Matitaya, the firstborn son of Shalom the Korahite, was entrusted with the responsibility for baking the offering bread. Some of their Kohathite brothers were in charge of preparing of every Sabbath the bread set out on the table. Those who were musicians. So verse 33 guys. Those who were musicians, heads of Levite families, stayed in the rooms of the temple and were exempt from other duties because they were responsible for the work day and night. All these were heads of Levite families, chiefs as listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem. The genealogy of Saul. Jael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife name was Makkah. Sa verse 36. And his firstborn son was Abdon, followed by Zor, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zechariah, and Miklos. Napakarami naman. Ilan yung anak ni Makkah? Ilan ang anak nila ni Makkah? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ay, 10. 10. Ewan ko. Kaya na mabilang at pampatagal lang yan. Sa verse 38. Mikloth was the father of Shimeam. The two lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, Kish the father of Saul, and Saul the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Ishbaal. The son of Jonathan, Meribaal, who was the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Piton, Melik, Tari, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jada. Jada was the father of Alibeth, Azmabeth, and Zimri was the father of Musa. Musa was the father of Bani. Ripaya was his son. Elisha his son, and Azel his son. Azel had 6 sons, and these were their names: Azrikam, Bokharo, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. These were the sons of Azel. Ayan guys, natapos din tayo. 1 Chronicles 7, 8, 9. So, bukas chapter 10 na ng Chronicles. Bye everyone. God bless.